All right. Well, happy Mother's Day, first of all, to all the mothers and mother figures out there. Anyone that feels that they've added a little bit of that nurturing compassion to the world, I want to say thank you, because absolutely that type of energy makes all the difference. And for anyone that, and this may be news to you, Reverend Tim, anyone that has heard my past two Mother's Day messages that usually talks about the Kelly kids, my family, me and my siblings, and how we used to just really torture my mom. And it was fun. I mean, yes. So we're going to go into the note. But you all know that I was probably one of those kids that you had to keep a watchful eye on. And yes. And my mother, I just have to really give thanks to her, because she embodied those qualities that now I aspire to, when I can remember, to do the same. And I believe some of the statute of limitations are off on some of the things we used to do. I might be. But there was this one time, we had this favorite police officer, Officer Jack. And so whenever we get in trouble, we make sure the neighbors saw us just so they could call the police. And then Officer Jack would pull up with his paddy wagon and threaten to throw us in it. And then oftentimes he would throw us in it and then just take us back to my mom's house. So you have the Kelly kids coming out of the paddy wagon, in custody of my mother. And I can only imagine her thoughts of what are the neighbors thinking, and, can I even show my face in public? But this is the type of torture we did put my mom through. And I say that, thank you, Mom, first of all, for not stepping out in front of traffic on a daily basis to end it all, but also for really showing those qualities that make the divine feminine, that essence within us, because it's a quality. When we say masculine, feminine, this is not about a boy or a girl. These are about qualities within each one of us. Because we were created in the image and likeness of God, and God embodies both. And when we can step into it, whether we are born identified as male or female, when we can step in and balance the two, believe me, your manifestations come a lot quicker. Your dreams become more fulfilled. We're going to go into this in a little bit, because I just read a wonderful book last night while I was preparing for this sermon. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I never know about this? So I'm going to kind of give you the meat and potatoes of it, because what this is calling each one of us to do on this Mother's Day, and even on Father's Day, but that's later on. But on this Mother's Day is to kind of step into healing some of our family trauma. Whether you know it or not, there's something that may have happened in your childhood, unless you were on an island by yourself with your parents, no other external stimuli out there. There is something that may be causing you to be bound to some things of this world in this here and now experience. And we're going to talk about those things and how we can use the feminine divine, that motherly energy, to break the chains that bind us. Now, just spoke about my mother, how she embodied these qualities. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 6, it talks about love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. My mom was definitely not proud of us kids. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. This, in essence, was my mother. I did not realize how powerful love was until I became a parent myself. I had many critiques about my mother growing up. about the way I would have raised us kids, what she was doing wrong, and how I could have done it better. Now, I think June had said this, that sometimes as parents we have these shortcomings. And I can look back at that teenage Johanna and, first of all, laugh at her because she thought she was a know-it-all. Maybe she still is. But so maybe she still is this know-it-all. But I started to really embody this one saying, and I don't even know who to attribute it to. It's just coming up for me right now. All I know is that I don't know. That's actually a very safe, wonderful place to be. Not knowing, that's all I know, is that I don't know everything. And I might not know anything, actually, Reverend Tim. I just want to let you know that. So, yes, this is recorded. But that not knowing leaves me open if I'm willing to receive real knowledge and wisdom, to master the things that once seemed difficult for me. When I can be in the state of a learner instead of the state of a know-it-all, I can allow that within me to come forth. And when I am balancing these different energies of the masculine and feminine, I find that my creative expression is that much more profound in this world. I'm not sure if you guys are ladies, gents, whatever. No, but I have a lot of masculine energy. I do. I do have a lot of masculine energy. I think a lot of individuals do. This world seems to produce or cause one to harden up a bit, to put on a protective coating or shell. And maybe that's what we're not supposed to be doing. When there is the appearance of hate, we are to show up in love. Quite possibly, just entertain me with this one. It could be the opposite. But when there is a hardness in life, maybe we should soften our expression instead. Amen. Whenever we are faced with something that seems to resist the good that God would have for us in life, maybe that is the call to show up exactly the opposite of what it would want you to do. Amen. Sometimes that energetic force wants you to feed into the negativity. And when we express the feminine divine, that very essence that makes life livable, that makes life such a beautiful expression, when we can step into it as this individual expression of the whole, believe me, the mountains will throw themselves into the ocean. The water can be walked across when you can balance that masculine and put some of that feminine energy into it, to care for your dreams, to care for yourself, to show yourself love and compassion, and the situation love and compassion instead of resentment or resistance. When we can show that, there is nothing we are not able to do. We are called to be that divine expression. When it said, don't you know that ye are gods? That means the whole thing. The kit and caboodle, is that a word? Yes, it is, I think so. The kit and caboodle, that all of this that God is, you are as well. You cannot separate yourself from who created you. You can deny, but guess what? I promise you, life does not look or feel good when we just start denying that which we are. We are called to live in this expression, into this moment of truth for ourselves. And I know personally for me, for so many years, because I was a military girl and all this other stuff, and I was a tomboy growing up, that I really shied away from this softer, gentler way of being. And it was only until recently that I started to identify how being too masculine in areas of my life, having that energy, actually stunts my own creativity, my own ability to manifest, my own ability to heal, and my own ability to show up in love and in compassion. It scares me. I got to be honest with you. It's just being vulnerable, because I feel like that's vulnerability. Being vulnerable sometimes has a little bit of fear to it, and that's where you need to step into. You step into that fear. Step into that unknown area. I'm doing this a little bit more each and every day in ways that are seen and unseen, known and unknown, but I know that will manifest itself in positive ways in my life. Having that motherly energy can only do the world good. We have enough of that hardness, of that exactness. We're called to make things smoother. When you can smooth out those edges in life that are sharp, that don't feel so good, that is when you are springing forth this divine expression that lays dormant within you, just waiting for you to even whisper its name. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, equated the Holy Spirit with this divine presence essence of the feminine. Jesus said that he'd have to go, but he's going to bring something else. The Comforter will come. The Comforter. That softer energy that just holds you when you need to be held. That speaks to you in such words that the world's words cannot compare. When we call on that divine expression, the Holy Spirit, if we can think of it as having this feminine quality of being, we can see that our mother has never left us, is always waiting for us to call the name of that spirit, call it out, so that energy, that expression can take hold and do the thing that only mothers can do. And that is to provide the situation with a different energy that the world knows not of. So whenever I feel like, woe is me or something, when I can remember, I call on the Holy Spirit. Because in that moment, I need to feel this love and compassion. I need to feel the feeling nature of expression. And that's what mothers are too. Sometimes we tend to, I'm going to speak for myself because this is what I do. But I used to, sometimes I still do, I tend to take on the identities of my children, their failures, their successes, their losses, their gains. it all becomes part of my happiness or unhappiness. For some reason, it's just because we are connected in that way. And I was always wondering why my mom, her ups and downs seem to correspond with the releases from jail and the bail money. And I'm now understanding that is kind of what that energy does, that divine feminine. It attaches, it loves completely, it loves fully. And if you're lucky, it holds no records of wrongdoing, Mother. Not all of us have had this beautiful expression of motherly energy in our lives. Some of us have had the exact opposite, where it was wretched, where we didn't receive that nurturing, where we didn't receive the compassion that makes life so good. And so I was reading this book by Lowell Fillmore called Things to Be Remembered. Because I didn't even think about that. Like, not everybody has had a great childhood or a motherly presence or that divine feminine presence in their life. And in the chapter, You and Your Family, there are some tough spiritual pills to swallow. So I have broken it down to these pills: prayer, praise. Anybody think of the last one? And practice. I don't know how to spell it, but I know how to say it. Prayer, praise, and practice. When we can put these things even into the issues of our family of origin, wonderful things start to happen. So Lowell goes on to write in this chapter, when unhappiness, inharmony, and sickness are upsetting a home, it is because God's great healing love is not being recognized and expressed as it should be by the members of the family. When they become more receptive to divine love, order will be restored in the home. When a member of the family takes a detour instead of the smooth, safe, high road maintained by love, he runs into difficulties at once. When he does this, he is likely to blame his troubles on other persons. Lowell goes on to say, well, what is the remedy? Things come up in the home. We're really close to one another. I mean, these are probably your family of origin, your people that you live with, that you call your kin, tend to know the things that trigger you the most. They know how to push them buttons and cause things to come raging outside at times. And when we can do the exact opposite of what the buttons being pushed are telling us to do. Look, I like to show up in rage sometimes. There's this, the pain body that Eckhart Tolle talks about. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, let me just feed it real quick and get upset. But when we can stop, breathe, pray into it, and behold the divine expression. What is this situation calling from me, God? More hate? No. Hate begets hate. Oh, maybe more love. Maybe I don't have to preach to my brother, my sister, my son, my daughter. Maybe I can just hold the clear vision of who they really are. And that's what love does. I don't necessarily have to be out there fixing and rearranging and orchestrating. Sometimes the real work is me getting my mind right and me tapping into what is needed. And if compassion is needed, then let me be that. If love is needed, then let me be that. Because very easily I've grown a track in my mind where I want to do something else. I want to take the easy low road, and be all in the mud. And the higher road, which is lighter, it frees you. It knows you by name. It is, like I said, just waiting. Holy Spirit, just ears listening. Call on that. Be that softer side to a hard situation. Be that gentleness when things feel rough. That's your superpower. The divine feminine is your superpower. Lowell also goes in and describes that you will start to see when you balance this masculine and feminine energy, you're going to start to see your manifestations, your relationships, all things change almost immediately. Why? Because you've changed. You are the common denominator in it all. And I'm not saying what happened to you at 3, 10, whatever, is something to put a guilt or shame. But what I'm saying is that you can change things in the here and now. I can't change what happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But what I can do is change my mind, apply some forgiveness, and move forward in love. Show up and show the world that I mean business when I say I'm all about doing my Father's work. When I'm all about doing the work, I show up. And I don't care what is happening on the side over here, or the side, or in the front, or in the back. Because I know that blanket of protection, that love, that whole Spirit of God goes before me, behind me, beside me, within me, through me, as me. Amen. Whom shall I fear? Just go through these notes because I'm getting I didn't realize it was going to take this long. So we have this, look, I like to talk all day about this stuff. I love it. All right. Prayer, praise, and practice. Reverend Tim's laughing at me now. But I am at peace. So, prayer, praise, and practice. So when we find ourselves, whether it's a work situation, the home situation, thinking about what happened 20 years ago, you can apply your prayer right here, right now. You can stop the clamor of the mind. You can drop in. Ring the doorbell if you have to the chamber, to the inner sanctuary. You got the key that opens the door. Look inside your pocket. It's right there. It never left you. When you can turn on that mighty power of prayer and pray for those, pray for yourself, see them, see yourself as this divine expression, see the situation gentle, easy, flowing, loving. I applied this practice a while ago when I was going through horrible divorce, everything. And after I found the Wednesday prayer meditation and everything, I started to realize that whenever I saw a particular make and model of a car, this individual would come up in my mind. And what did I do? I could have easily went down that track of resentment, I can't believe this, and woe is me. For some reason, my mind started blessing that vehicle, blessing the car. It all represented this person to me. And guess I started seeing that same make and model everywhere. So my mind just automatically, after a while, when I put this into practice, when I started praising the situation, things changed immediately. Because I was a changed person. Yes. He didn't have to do anything. What was needed was on my end. I needed to become softer, more loving, more gentle. Nurture my mind with good things. Use my words to bless, to prosper, and to heal. The only reason I should be speaking is to do one of those three things. And when I started to do that instead, I don't even know if it was 2 weeks that had passed after months and months and months of nonsense, that it just changed overnight. Only the good Lord can make that happen. My consciousness had to be accommodated. So the whole world had to reconfigure itself to match where I was at now. I was no longer hanging out in the mud. I was blowing trumpets with the angels. So we're not Valentine's Day, this is Mother's Day. So this Mother's Day, that's the call. If there's a situation, whether it's a family, life, work life, something within you that feels really hard and rigid, unbearable, try to apply love to it. Be kind and gentle with yourself. The Holy Spirit, if you need to know how, you ask the Holy Spirit. That comforter within you will whisper what needs to happen. Will start rearranging things because you have a willingness for some new expression. All things will make way with the power of the mother that's within you. You pray about it, you praise it, and then you practice it. That's all she's asking for you to do. Activate her within and go on and be free. And now let us close the outer eyes as we dive deep into this expression of balance, of love, of freedom. There is a power within you that all it asks is say my name, I will answer. And as we breathe into that expression of the divine feminine, we can rest assured that we are being comforted, nurtured, that life can become a bit easier when we can breathe into this expression. We let go of anything that binds us to the heaviness of this world and allows us to move, to have our being, to be connected. Let us take this into the silence.